Emotions are beautiful. I mean, like, I think we're here to experience humanness. To paradoxically, or ironically, you end up becoming superhuman when you become more human.
Tony, Floreal. Tony and I just interviewed each other today in Manhattan in New York City.
Yeah, we did.
He was so sweet. He got me
Pineapple snackaroo.
I have never tried this.
I was actually gonna bring the whole pineapple to you next time. Well, you have to come to Hawaii.
Yes, I totally want to. So this is a first New York Reel and Floreal
What's up?
collaboration. Can't wait to show you all. It will be up soon.
It'll be a Pete.
Okay. Recording. This is New York Reel. I'm Olive. Today my guest is Tony Floreal. I already feel that we are in the flow state, and I'll have him explain everything you need to know about flowing. Tony's from Hawaii, and you have been traveling all around the world to help people, inspire people with your videos, with your book. You have written a book called Holy Stretch, and you have a video memoir called Holy Shift.
That's right.
I can't wait to hear all about it. Welcome to New York Reel.
Thank you, Al. It's a pleasure to be in New York.
So, tell me something about Holy Stretch and Holy Shift. You gotta say it right.
Yeah, so Holy Stretch, I don't even remember writing it because I was in such a flow state that I just self-published. And I remember just pressing the button that it was self-published. It was printed, the sample was sent to me. Actually, I had the sample sent to my mom. I didn't even tell her. And she called me up. She's like, "You wrote a book?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I wrote this book called Holy Stretch." And basically, it's a self-healing guide for physical, mental, and spiritual resistance. And yeah, basically, it's using stretching methods and like tuning into the body, using deep breathing. And I like guide you like step by step in the book, like how to like get into the flow state or in the zone. And I wrote that like 5 years ago. And then the sequel was the book Holy Shift, right? I've been trying to write that not in flow state for the last 5 years, and I've just written like little snippets here and there, and then finally I just realized I love doing video. I'm in San Francisco. I just came from San Francisco to come here. And so I went to all my childhood places where I like grew up or went to school, and I just turned on the camera and I just like told a story of wherever that location was in San Francisco. So Holy Shift is going to be the video memoir in kind of like a book but in video form.
Right.
And then maybe I'll have it transcribed.
I love it. Because when you are recording the video, it just comes to you.
Yeah.
And you're in the flow state, and it's even skip writing or typing. It just happened.
Yeah, it's easier to remember your memories.
Yeah.
And while I'm in the scene and I smell the same smells and I remember like different like nuances about being in that environment, I can capture that energy. So it may not be as descriptive as I am like if I was writing a book, but I think that this day and age, like people's attention spans are getting shorter, and like and I just feel like we need to hear more stories, right? And like
Yes.
shorter stories, and then eventually it will build up to be like a full-length video book.
So far, how many videos are there?
I've done 2 so far, and have like a list to check off of all these places that I've gone through in my life, from growing up in San Francisco, going down to San Diego for school, ended up in Guam where I had the holy shift happen to me. I didn't realize that until like I came back out of Guam to the mainland USA, and using this technology called microcurrent technology from the company called Intel Bio, which I've been involved with for the last 11 years. When I was actually using the technology on my body and my brain, I had a holy shift happen to me. And that's when I realized what exactly happened to me in Guam that like transformed me, where I was super depressed and just had my heart broken. So I went out to Guam for love, and I just wanted to get out of the U.S. I just wanted to travel and experience something new.
Yeah.
And had the opportunity to move to Guam for my girlfriend. And within like a couple of weeks, it fell apart, and I almost found myself homeless. I only had like $60 to my name, and so luckily my ex-girlfriend enabled me to find a place where I ended up rooming with a bunch of Continental airline pilots. And when I moved in there, like none of them were on the island, so I basically had this like house to myself, and every day I was like crying. I was just, it's sad because I was, I missed home. I was in this foreign place, and I, had been dumped basically. And so I remember crying myself to sleep at one point, and I woke up the next day, and I literally felt like the world that I saw was brand new. I hadn't felt that feeling since I was a kid, and it was literally like the veil was removed from my eyes, and I saw the world like as it is, without like all this programming and conditioning that we were dumped upon like since we were children by like well-meaning people, right? In institutions like school. So it was just this clarity that happened, and like I felt whole for the first time in my life. I realized that like happiness was already innate, and that anything outside of me was just like a bonus. But I didn't really know that until just a few months later. I actually met a girl at the post office, and it turned out that she was Miss Guam, and we started dating, and we connected like really quickly, and then it crashed and burned really quickly. So I just like I got dumped again, and I was just literally like, it's I totally get it. I mean, I would laugh. I mean, I'm laughing about it, talking about it now, but then I was just like, it was just the most horrible feeling. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm always looking for like happiness outside. And again, I like meditated, I like prayed, I cried, and I woke up the next day, and it was like this full-blown holy shit like moment where I just had this like confidence, and all these amazing things started to like click into place. It were happening before that, but it really started happening, and by that point I was on TV, newspaper, and radio. I had worked with kids with the program that I started when I was in San Diego called Boot Camp for Kids, and basically it was an exercise like weekend where kids would come, and then we would just have fun and play, but I would do all these like drills, being like, I had a background as a exercise science coach and like strength and conditioning coach. So that got the attention of the people of Guam, and literally like I was like all over the media. And then I was like invited to these like conferences to speak, and I had like horrible like public speaking like fears. I had done it in college, but it just put me out there in front of people and like constantly, and I was looked at by the community as like an expert. So all these things are happening, and the funny
After the shift.
after the shift. Well, they were happening a little bit, but by the time the shift happened, it was like it just opened up where I ended up dating Miss Guam runner-up right after that. So it's like all these beautiful women like were coming into my life, and like I was learning like so much about like relationship and communication, and I had the wisdom at that point to just tell like Miss Guam runner-up, like, and she felt the same way, that it would be best that we just be friends. Because by that time I realized if this can happen, all these amazing events, synchronicities, and everything was just like clicking. If it could happen on a tiny island, what would happen if I like went to like the US, like the mainland? So when I did that, that's when the machines like came into my life.
You referring to the Intel Bio?
The Intel Bio, like microcurrent devices. And
How does that work? How big is it? Like this big?
yeah, so at the time when I got involved, there were two like big separate machines. One that works on your nervous system, so it's like a EEG that measures your brain waves.
Okay.
So instead of just measuring the brain waves, it also works on sending the signals back to like the brain and the spinal cord and all the periphery nerves. And then the second machine is working on like your connective tissue. So everything else that our body's made out of, so muscles, tendon, ligaments, bones, skin, blood, everything else. And so between the two machines, it has intelligence that actually like looks in your body for areas that are blocked. It has resistance.
My knee.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like
You were very sweet when we Skyped. We connected on London Rio Academy, and I told you about my injury, and you're like, maybe I can help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, it helps people heal 2-3 times faster than normal. So
How does it work?
So our body is already electric, right? So what happens is as we get older, our ability to hold the energy it gets a little bit like weaker. We can't like hold charge like a baby can.
Oh, little kids running around
They're full
day.
of vitality, and then like as we age, our cells just are like batteries that just can't fully recharge like they can when you're a kid. So the machine comes in as an external power source, and it looks for those cells that are either damaged or blocked or have resistance, and it recharges it like a fully charged like cell phone. So that's the reason why they call cell phones cellular phone. It's one cell talking to another cell. So
Sure.
the same in our body. It's just some cells aren't talking to each other the way they're supposed to. There's all this noise and static and resistance, so the electrical flow between certain cells aren't getting the information. So the machine is re-educating your body on how to operate like that of a child. And so that's why your healing capacity improves 2 to 3 times faster than normal. And this has been like the secret of like a lot of pro athletes and celebrities for like the last 30 years.
So a lot of your clients are very active and
Yeah.
all over the world.
All over the world. And so as a sales rep for the company will send me to different places in the world, people that end up buying the technology, and then usually they send me as either the trainer and like a technician. So I play like both roles.
So how is each session? Like say I have, the reason I was limping last month, my PCL is detached, but I don't need a surgery. I just need to work out. I'm in physical therapy to work out my muscle to hold the leg together. But the reason why I was limping is because I stopped using it. So once I stopped using it, I was told that my body just sent a signal. Oh, not using the knee anymore. Okay, no banding, no banding. So like, how would you work on someone with an injury?
So the classic case is I just ask you, where does it hurt? And in your body the best, you say like right here.
Right here.
Yeah, so we call that like the bullseye treatment. And so we put like some gel on the spot of that pain, and then we treat points around the knee. And so the machine is looking for in every which direction any like blockages, and then it removes it within seconds. And then we go through all the different frequencies that our body operates at, according to brain waves. So we already seen like the heart wave machine, like the EKG, right? So the brain waves are a little bit different. So the first machine, we're looking at all the nerves in that area that has to do with pain. And then the second machine, we're basically clearing out all the connective tissue. So like your ligaments, your tendons, your bone. And we're recharging all the damaged cells so that they can heal themselves. It's not the machine that's basically like healing. It's our own bodies that heals itself, right? Like when you get a cut, you don't like say, hey, like close the wound. Like there's something unknown, it's a mystery, but basically the body knows how to like heal itself. But as we get older again, it's not as efficient.
Is it a controversial technology at all? Would some people think that, oh, I don't believe it?
So first of all, it's actually FDA registered. So it's been in medicine, like allopathic medicine, for like over 30 years. So it's used in the medical industry, but a lot of the sort of older, like dinosaur type doctors that were just like closed-minded, they didn't like embrace it right away because they didn't think that it was powerful enough. That they use a lot of like muscle stimulation or ultrasound where the actual muscles start contracting, or you can actually feel like temperature change. So they're like, oh, we can see the difference because you can see the muscles contracting, or you can feel like the temperature change. But with microcurrent, it's so tiny of a current that they didn't think that it did anything for a while. So as the research finally came in, and there was like Nobel Prize winning research on like the gate theory of these little gates on the cell membrane that open and close. They open and close with tiny electricity, which is like the microcurrent, or down to the millionth or billionth of an amp, is really tiny. It's not milliamps, which is like bombarding and causing like the muscles to contract. So different stimulations have their play, depend on like how you want to approach it. But to answer your question, it's kind of like now, because of neuroscience and all the different technologies that are coming, it's being like more broadly accepted and like broadly used now.
I'm curious. I want to try.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, there's different functions from it, so you can use it to put your brain into flow states. So our brains operate at like high beta. So when our reptilian brains is freaking out and we're in fight or flight, our brain waves are like this.
Right.
So you see a kid that's like ADHD.
That's very Manhattan.
Yeah, everybody go, go, go.
In Hawaii.
Exactly. So that would be like a theta or a delta wave, which is we go through all these different waveforms throughout the day. And the sum of those waveforms is like a personality, right? So sometimes you need to be like go, go, go.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you need to be like chilled. But most people are at the whims of their environment. They're not able to sort of like control their own system. They're actually reacting all the time instead of responding.
Yes. Actually, I was watching this, I'm listening to this podcast of Tim Ferriss, and he interviewed Chris Saga. And Chris pointed out that in cities, big cities, people are playing defense. Like you said, it's like reacting, don't get hit. And our body's so used to that.
Yeah, it's basically hardwired through evolution, right? So being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, or, just survival, like getting hungry, needing to eat, so you have to go out and hunt, but then you're also being hunted, right? So we can't help it. And then like even Ty Lopez had talked about in a summary of like the whispers of 10,000 generations. So we're even being passed down or finding genetically from our ancestors some of these genetic traits that kicks us into survival mode. So some people are more susceptible than others. But the really cool thing is through the science of epigenetics and through our own conscious choice, and then with flow states happening and all the education about it, everybody will have the ability to direct their own biology. You'll be able to direct and change your genetics like within your own lifetime, so that when you do pass that on to the next generation, they won't be as susceptible to like fight or flight.
Wow, that's very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. The technology is from when you can get a genetic test by this company called 23andMe. Tim Ferriss talks about it. And you can find out like the full genetic profile of your body, and including like your ancestry, like what continents they came from, you know.
I just signed up on Ancestry.com.
Oh, nice.
I just sent in a sample, yeah.
Like a swab?
Yeah, I want
Okay.
to find out more, and that's helpful because we are actually living with all the generation, everything that's got passed on to us, and it's helpful to find out information of what you're easier to get, like disease-wise, and do precautions.
Yeah, exactly. And there's different laws about that now. Like you can get the readout, but it can't say anything about what you're predisposed to.
Oh.
Because now insurance companies will say, "Oh, did you take that test? What did it say?" And then they're gonna be, well, if it says you're highly likely to get Parkinson's or something, they're gonna be like, "I'm not giving you a insurance plan." Right? So it's getting kind of controversial, but things like whether you're a worrier or a warrior, there's actually a gene for that, and then there's also
Really?
a hybrid. So
I thought that was just a theory.
no, there's actually a gene, but
Warrior or warrior?
either one, or kind of like both. But then there's also your own psychological profile that could override your genes. So like the whole nurture and nature thing. So
Yeah.
you were born with the warrior gene, but you grew up in a family that were always worrying. So you actually took on the behaviors of a warrior, even though you're hardwired to be a warrior.
Yeah, hopefully that shift happened later in life.
Yeah, at some point, right?
Wow.
But the cool thing is we're getting all this data now and information, and we can actually, we're empowered to change within our lifetime. And that's kind of what happened to me with the holy shift, was that I woke up like a totally transformed person to the point where I was gone. No one saw me, even my family. I didn't see them for 18 months. And then when I came back, they almost didn't recognize me, because like I used to be totally introverted, and now I'm like up there speaking in front of like large audiences, or speaking on camera, or just the way that I like came into the room, like my own a presence, a mind, or being aware. People can sense something, and they can't really put their finger on it, you know, but they just feel like wait a minute, I remember Tony like this, and now there's this new Tony that like is so different from the old Tony.
Is it fair to say that when you were depressed, when you were unhappy, it was about what's happening to you? So now you're actually opening it up to serve people and making your journey about other people.
Yeah, it's funny. I was already like serving people before that. Like I would get these big helpers high, being a personal trainer and massage therapist and like a coach. I've just always been like giving, but I think I I had always based my happiness on like relationships. So, it was always like I would be happy if I had a girlfriend, or I'd be happy, like if she was around all the time, or, so the whole relationship thing was what caused me to like have the breakdown, which led to the breakthrough, right? I realized that even a girl can't like fulfill you. You're already like whole and one and complete and full and filled up
By yourself.
by yourself. Like regardless of what's happening outside of you in the environment, like there could be a war going on. You hear stories of like survivors at concentration camps. Like why did a lot of them give up, and why did the ones that didn't survive? Well, the ones that survived like found meaning even in the worst like circumstances, right? Usually through service or altruism, or by playing music at a concentration camp. But it was through service. And then it was just realizing like I'm in this situation that I have no other control, and the only thing I can control is how I respond to that environment. So all of a sudden I took responsibility, and even though the outer conditions were just like horrific and horrible, the way that they were to it, or how they are to it, how they framed it, it changed the whole dynamic of whether they lived or not. So that's what happened to me basically. I my whole nervous system broke down, and I fell asleep, and it made me think about like the greater existence, of this whole entire mystery. And I went to I grew up religious. I went to Catholic school for 9 years. It was kind of bizarre. So it was one of those like weird where I didn't actually get baptized, but I had cousins that went to the same school, so they just try to keep like all of the family together, my sister and I. And so there was always this like religious overtone that was a lot of fear-based, and like a lot about sinning. And so it put in a lot of fear in me. And so like the change that happened was, it was kind of bizarre, but having that holy shift moment where I actually like felt complete. So anything like outside of me that would try to disturb me, that wasn't favorable, like how I would like it, it didn't really change like how I felt inside. So over the years, I mean, it wasn't like a permanent shift or something, but it was a big shift enough that other people noticed, and like I noticed. And so it's been what I've been sort of investigating more and more, like the whole mysteries of the universe, and like what are these flow states that are happening to me where in emergency situations time slowed down, and I knew like how to respond, and I told like, hey, you go call 911, and hey, you take care of this and clear the scene. Happened the opposite, where when I did skydiving, I actually like blanked out in midair because we had taken the last jump of the day, and we had like pure sunset, and like I literally got like flow blasted where my brain just went blank, and I had to like pull my own chute and land. It wasn't like I was strapped to my instructor. So when that happened, like my two instructors that were flying down with me had to like shake me, and they were like, pull your cord. And I didn't have my hearing aid in, right? So I'm like, what? They're like, pull your cord. I was like, oh, okay. And then they're like, I was like, what? I can't hear. And they're like, pull your effing cord. I was like, okay. And so I had like vowed that I would never lose control of myself like that again. So other situations in life presented itself where I actually had to like maintain my composure. So so all these different flow states that had different flavors and different events, so eventually just brought me to this place where I'm not as fearful as I was, I'm not worried about like going to hell, you know, like and damnation forever. This whole concept of like some guy in the sky that created the world in like, you know, 7 days or something. It just sounds erroneous to me, you know. But the actual experiences are what feels real to me, and like the ability that now with all these different technologies, I'm able to have many more tools to enable me to stay more like composed. And I'm human, like I lose my shit sometimes, especially like I think like if you were to really know somebody, have them drive a car and sit with them and see how they are in traffic, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you really want to know somebody, like take them out for a couple of drinks and see like what kind of beans they spill, right? So these are like different things that you can do to really like see where the person really is at, right? And for me, I just feel like I get charged now when I get the opportunity to like speak, where before I was so like deathly afraid of it. I would have like all those physiological responses. My heart felt like it was getting pounded on my chest. I felt queasy. I would be sweating, and it happens. I can still feel that energy, but it basically is something that like I know how to like kind of oversee.
You see the bigger picture.
See the bigger picture.
You know why you're doing it.
Know why, and then also it's weird. It's like I know that there's like almost like two different me's going on. There's my reptile that just wants to like eat and sleep and like screw and kill, right? And then there's this like more observer, like more self-aware person that can see like that this it's just an animal that's programmed to survive. And then when you realize that you're not this and you're this, you can like merge the two together. And usually like people are like trying to like damn this is sin, you know. And then this is like where you want to go, you want to transcend. But there's also like it's like swinging the other end of the pendulum, so you can literally like, you know, disassociate from your body. So that's why like I caution people, I caution people like, be careful. Like the trend right now is to get into meditation, but meditation, when you take it too far, can be just as deadly as like, you know, being an addict and like drinking too much or eating too much or we all have our vices, right? So each thing has its play, and so it's up to us to figure out like how to merge these two energies together, because they're both powerful energies, and then be able to like align it and be congruent, and then move in the direction that you're passionate about and you feel like guided.
Like sometimes I feel like, well, when I was younger, I used to think that, oh, living a balanced life is so boring. But now I appreciate that balancing on both sides doesn't mean that you do everything in the middle. You can also have the extremes and balance it. And by having both, I watched a video of yours when you woke up. You took a video of how sometimes you don't wake up feeling super great either, but you know how to monitor, you know how to manage your day and get back into the flow state.
Yeah, so I call that like exercising my demons, you know, and you know, basically using exercises to exercise the demons. And so I guess as you get older, you kind of see the same movie. It's like Groundhog Day. And I realized that I think what's cool, again, is I heard like Elliot Hulse talk about this on London Real with Brian Rose, who was saying that we never like lose our demons. Like when we think that we got rid of these demons, there's these other ones that come up. So basically our whole life as a human being is gonna be dealing with demons, because until they figure out how to stop death, and have people like live forever in the same body, that's going to be like hard when we start losing people that we care about, or just the fact of the matter that human beings are pretty destructive, and like there's wars and stuff. So you see these pictures of kids that have died, and that's just like horrible, right? So we're always going to have our demons. So I just see every morning when I wake up, there's this like heaviness. Like one of it's like, oh great, I'm here again. I have to do this. Like, especially because my dreams are so amazing. And so it takes me a while to have like my own like process or a routine ritual to like realign myself and feel like whole again. And then I go out in a day and I just like feel like I can have more resilient, I'm more tolerant, more understanding, have more energy, I'm clearer. But when I don't do those things, like everything's chaotic, my lizard brain is running the show.
Does it help that you wake up in Hawaii? Tell us about Hawaii.
It definitely helps. Absolutely. I mean, if you're like a block away from the beach, it's interesting because sometimes you don't realize like the crap that you live in until you go to a place where it's so beautiful and you get that contrast, right? So Hawaii is just, there's something special about it. This like energy of the land, like it sounds woo-woo, but when people like go there, either Hawaii like embraces you or it spits you out. Something about it. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna scientifically prove it one day or something, but I feel it. But it's just like being out in nature anyways. Like sometimes you'll have monkey mind going on. We're going to the beach later and we'll be hanging out at the beach, like listening to the waves, something about like grounding in the earth and the sand and having the sun. And then there comes a point where monkey mind just shuts off and you're like, this is the real me. Like, this is like how I feel my best. And that's like a flow state, right? Mm-hmm. And when you start to understand the contrast and then how you personally like manage this thing that we're in, right? You just get better. And I think that's what life is we start to figure out like what works, what doesn't work for us, and start tossing that stuff that doesn't work and packing in the stuff that does work, right? And so you get to the point where most of the time you're feeling amazing, and then every so often you'll still have a horrible day, or the science with like flow states, believe it or not, that even flow can be addictive and also come with consequences. So even though I'm all about flow, I also know the dark side of flow thanks to like the science that's come out about it. And we're basically using up all our brain resources when we're in flow. So we have a limited...
We're going to crash after this interview.
We're going to totally crash, So fortunately, we know how to counter that. So one is like when you start to reach these peak states, you want to like pull out before you blow. Right? So you want, in anything, like whenever you're learning something, you want to like finish at the peak and then stop. Don't like peak and then start crashing and then stop there, because then you're putting garbage information into your system. So you want to peak and then stop. If you feel like, oh my goodness, this is like a profound like state I'm in and I'm getting a lot of stuff done, I'm producing, I'm creative, at least you know that if you keep pushing it until you crash, you know that you're for 2 to 3 days you're gonna be absolutely useless. And not to beat yourself up over it, just be like, during those days I'm going through a hangover right now, and what my monkey mind's saying, I'm not listening to it. It's just like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm not trusting you. And then just be okay with not doing anything, just going for a walk, like eating more, whatever you need to do to recharge and then go for it again.
And not beat ourselves up.
Don't beat ourselves up. Yeah, and it's so easy to do.
Forgiveness is sometimes applied to oneself.
Absolutely. Yeah, self-forgiveness.
So Tony, 3 questions for you. Number 1, if you are to Skype, FaceTime, or Google Hangout with the 20-year-old Tony, what would you say to him?
I would tell the 20-year-old Tony to basically, like, don't stress out, like, relax, you know, just be yourself. I think that I wasn't very comfortable in my skin at that point. And would I change anything if I could go back? No, because it makes me who I am now. But if I did, like, do Back to the Future and showed up, I'd be like, just be yourself. You'll be fine.
Yeah, we all need someone to tell us that.
I know.
Yeah, I wish people nowadays, the younger generation, they would know that they can validate themselves. They can be the ones to do that.
Yeah, I think just based on the work that we're doing on the internet, I'm meeting these younger generation, millennials, and I'm blown away, like, how much wisdom they actually have at that age, and what they have access to that we didn't really have access. But they know things that, like, I know now, you know, which is like, you're 20 years old and you have so much ahead of you, and you're at this point, and it gives me hope about the future.
Okay, question number 2. If you are to give advice on these 4 areas that are important, according to Tai Lopez: health, wealth, love, and happiness, can you give us some hints?
Advice for, like, myself or for people?
What works for you, and what do you think are good suggestions that other people can try too?
Health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Yes.
So in terms of health, obviously just get your basic needs taken care of, you know, like drink water, breathe air, like people forget, like, how powerful, like, breathing is, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a traditional meditation, but breathing actually, like, resets your nervous system and your heart and your stomach. Like, the whole system is, like, being brought back to, like, neutral, right? So for health, that would be the biggest tip, is to, like, learn how to breathe properly, especially when you feel overwhelmed.
Because we hold our breath.
Yeah, we're
nervous.
Exactly, and it just escalates, right? And so for wealth, I'm definitely not the expert on that.
That's what every guest said.
I'm definitely doing my best on that, but I would say that I'm wealthy in life experience. I've never let money or the lack of money stop me from doing all these incredible things that I've done in my life. And I feel so grateful. I think that if you don't have money to do the things that you want, it just enables you to get, like, super creative. And so, you know, I've been blessed. For example, I told you that I have like a family member in the airline industry. I actually had 2 different ones at the same time. I had flight benefits for, at one point, one airline, and through somebody else, flight benefits through another airline at the same time.
Whoa.
So I think that when you start to, like, really get in touch with yourself and you spend, like, quiet time, everybody in the morning should spend at least, like, 20 to 30 minutes of their own time to really, like sink in and into your skin suit, you know, and feel comfortable. And then once you're there and you're solid, like, you're gonna be amazing. So just doing that on a regular basis enabled me to notice things in my environment that, like, I call signs. And the scientific term for it is called pattern recognition. So when you're, like, more aware and you actually see more. And when you're stressed out, everything becomes tunnel vision, right? So if you can learn to be more relaxed in your skin, you're gonna see more, you're gonna get more creative, and you're gonna find yourself kind of like you, Olive, how like New York Real just kind of happened on its own, you know? Like, I call it like you're just ripe. That when you're ripe,
The olive is ripe.
the olive is right and it falls off the tree, right? You don't have to like pick it.
Took a long time.
Yeah, same here. And what's cool now is like I do feel like I'm 20 again. I'm actually enjoying my life more now than I did in my 20s. So, what was the next one?
So that was wealth, love, and happiness.
Okay, so love is another funny one for sure. I experienced so much love in my life. I've been really grateful that I've had like love in relationships, and most importantly, like I think first and foremost, we have to love ourselves, right? And by loving ourselves and being complete, I've seen it time and time again that it just shows up, that person that is meant to be in your life. And so I'm just open to that. I've seen that. And, I think that by loving ourselves, we just become attractive, right? And we have that glow. So that would be my advice on that. And then for happiness is to find out what you're passionate about in your life. I mean, that's like the easiest way to find joy. And if you don't know what that is, like you were saying, like sample different things, and something will like click, something will like turn you on, right? And I remember when I was 15 years old, I had played a bunch of sports. And the first time I actually played hockey, it was actually roller hockey because I grew up in San Francisco, California. But the moment that I like had a stick and a ball with skates, it was instant love. And so I ended up playing hockey for my younger years, ice hockey. And you'll know, I mean, it's so obvious when you find that one thing. And also in regards to happiness is you're already it. I mean, all the other stuff that comes from the outside is just bonuses. And it enhances what you already are. When you're already whole, one, and complete, everything else that comes is just an enhancement. And so it amplifies what you already have. But if you're looking outside of yourself for something to complete you and make you happy, you're going to kind of like be disappointed for a long time until like it wakes you up. Because I find that like pain is such a wonderful teacher until it's not anymore. When you're wise enough, you're like, I don't need to go through pain to like wake up. I can like be happy and know what to do and use like things that I enjoy to like keep me going.
I really enjoyed that. It's kind of like our earlier conversation about artists being inspired when they're depressed, and they think that the only time they can express or be creative is when they're sad. But it is not true. Once you get past it, you write happy songs.
Yeah, exactly. And emotions are beautiful. I mean, like, I think we're here to experience humanness, to become more human, not to become superhuman. And it's kind of a paradox, but when you become more human and you actually really embrace like sadness and you really embrace those times when you're down, it just gives this symphony to your life of all these flavors and the spectrum of emotions that we're capable of. And I think that just paints the canvas of our life with so much more character. And so paradoxically, ironically, you end up becoming superhuman when you become more human.
Oh, that is so cool. I like the image.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool feeling when you finally understand that, and you just can't help to be like bursting with energy like most of the time.
Okay, my last question for you is what was your favorite memory of New York City? I know that you've been here a few times.
Yeah.
This is your third time, or?
I lost count. I've
Okay,
been here.
maybe more than that.
Yeah, I've been here a lot. Each time was amazing. But I would go back to the very first time because I've always heard about the Big Apple and Times Square and all the skyscrapers, Manhattan, the different districts, neighborhoods. In one sense, it reminded me of San Francisco, of like the culture, but way more like fast paced. The people is what gives me the biggest memory of New York across the board every time, and in terms of like a happy memory, because even though the people look like they're like on a mission and they're in the rat race and it's just like crowded and it's just like 24/7, there's people everywhere. If you were to ask somebody in New York for help, they will stop, look at you, and they will like help you. And to me, that's like amazing, quality about New Yorkers that sometimes you don't see. I don't see that as wide travel as I am. That it's kind of bizarre, but even in India, they're just as fast paced and like on a mission, and they look like they're angry, right? But the moment that you engage them, they light up. Like for that brief moment, there's a connection, even though it's a stranger, and they're like so happy to help you.
How many countries? Name all the countries you've been to.
Okay, so Portugal, Greece, France, Germany, Switzerland, Ireland, Scotland, England, then Canada, of course, Mexico. Then I've been to Asia, South Pacific, so Guam, Palau, Saipan.
You've been to Hong Kong too.
Yeah, so Hong Kong, Japan, China, India. Geez, who else? Indonesia, Bali. Yeah, there's quite a few for sure. I haven't been to Africa, I haven't been to Australia yet.
So those are your next.
Yeah.
Bring your flow energy there.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being on New York Real. I love the wonderful presence that you have, which I felt when we were Skyping about, you said 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I think that people will love you for you, and just being in the same room with you or just Skyping with you, it brings me to that really peaceful state. And I love that, and I love you for that. The calmness.
Thank you.
Very inspiring. Thank you, Tony.
I feel the same, Olive. It's just it's such a pleasure to be here to meet you. I was called to you. That's why I made such a big trip. And I've met a lot of people online that only recently, 5 years later, am I meeting them in person. And with you, it was just like, I got to meet Olive right away. And so 6 weeks later, I'm here. And so thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you, Tony. Next time we're going to interview in another country together.
Yeah, that would be great. We'll interview in Hawaii.
Yeah. That's it.
That's great.
You're looking